in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel, heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell, can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the badge, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell, can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. You can cancel the show, but not the crowd. We're still here, still talking loud. Hand of the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell, can't scare us into silence. We were born to rail from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell.
Ready to raise some hell on a Monday. How about it, my friends? Check the shirt. Maybe you've already got one of these. If you do, welcome. And thank you so much for joining the fight. And if you don't have one yet, you got to get to bobfrance.com and join the fight. That's what I'm starting with this morning. All right. It is very early. Well, earlier than I probably wanted to be up, especially with that time change. Are we done with the time change nonsense yet? Good morning, chatters. I see Mike up in there with a greeting to me by name. Thank you, good sir. Good morning. This is kind of cool. Can you guys see this? In the lower right hand of the screen, it's got kind of the chat scroll, sort of, I guess. And what I'm able to do with it now, I didn't really realize this until now. I'm still poking around at this whole thing, is that I can... there's a function here where I can actually see the comments not without having to go to the Rumble screen. I can actually see them on the platform that I'm on, and I can actually tap one of them, like this one from Mike, and it'll show up on the screen like that. Look at that. All right, so you can kind of see the chat scroll in the lower right portion of the screen, and then if you look to the left now, I just featured that one. I just popped it right up there. That one from Mike Giro, who's a great guy. And look at Donna right in behind as well. Good morning, Donna. And thank you. And good morning to Number One Rhino. See, look, I popped Number One Rhino right up there. That's just kind of cool. KC John is in. Good morning, KC John. KC John was our chief ICE agent on Friday night. We're going to talk more about that later. But I got all kinds of these greetings up here, which is, a whole lot of good mornings. I'm not going to put them all up there, but I'll just kind of just show it off. I mean, it's just kind of neat. So when you do have something like of real value to say beyond our wonderful customary greetings and good mornings, when you've got comments, I can pop them on the screen and respond to them in real time. Sally, look at Sally. She was phenomenal on Friday night as one of our awful protesters. She had people fooled like you don't know. We'll get into that in a minute. But good morning, Sally. Good morning, DB Jones. Right back at it, indeed. Good morning, Joanne. Good morning, Charlie. Good napalm in the morning from Chara. All right, I'll pop that one up there. Why not? Yeah, this is just kind of neat. I like the ability to do that. Macromia is in. Good morning, Macromia. Jimbo, who built a pinata. Yeah, we're cranked up and we're letting it roll, brother. He built a pinata for Friday's event that beat one of our contestants. The pinata knocked the bat right out of the hands of the contestant, which was it was a great night of great fun, which is what we're going to get into. All right, I'm just a little obsessed with the comment thing now that I can show them on the screen, which is really cool. What does Jimbo say here? Great appreciation party on Friday. Great to meet some of you. And agreed. Totally. And I don't think he meant that the way it sounds. It's not like it was great to meet some of you, but not all of you. He just means he didn't meet all of you. Not everybody who is on the chat right now was able to come to the party. So, wow. All right. We've got ourselves a morning in front of us. Yes, I am repping the shirt. I didn't see this, by the way, and get a chance to put this on until you did. Friday, literally, we picked up the shirts from Mike at CLE 23. And by the way, if you have any printing needs for things like this, I've got some great people that I work with. Chris Gorin out in Wellington is wonderful. But Mike out in Strongsville at South Park, Mike Adams of CLE 23, he donated so many of these shirts so that we could give them away to all of the attendees. And everybody got theirs about the same time I got mine, was on Friday. And I was like so happy with the quality. These are just first class, outstanding. And again, move the mic here just so everybody can see. This is the logo that I've been kind of just throwing on the screen for the last 2-3 weeks since we kind of designed the whole thing. But this is what it's about. It's about repping and getting out there and showing the people how you feel about our heroes. And all law enforcement officers are our heroes. So what I want to do this morning to start, and there's a lot of news, by the way, as you could see when I threw this graphic up on the screen to start the show today. We're going to hit all of this. The ICE appreciation party. We're going to have a recap here in a moment. It's looking more and more like full-on war because talk, not plans, not announcements, but just talk is now coming out of the administration about possible boots on the ground, special forces having to go in with Israeli special forces to do some things that you can't do from an air campaign. That's a full-on war. Is that going to require a declaration by Congress? I don't know, but it's part of what we're going to discuss this morning. Islamic terrorists brought the war to New York City. There were protesters outside of Muslim Mayor Mamdani's place, and some radical Muslims came to protest the protesters and decided to throw bombs at them. This is bizarre. It's not bizarre. It's Western civilization clashing with things that don't belong in Western civilization, and that includes Islam. Notice I didn't use the modifier radical Islam. It's Islam, mainstream. Doesn't mean every Muslim is a believer in terrorism, but all of the believers in terrorism are Islamic. That's just the way it is. Property taxes in Ohio. I had a great chat last night with Brian Massey and Joe Miller and Jonathan Broadbent and the crew on the Ohio political news scene. That was really good. We'll talk about that some. And then yesterday, the Awfuls went outside to scream at the air on the International Women's Day. Unbelievable how maniacal these people really are and present themselves. I mean, just straight up bat bleep crazy. We'll get into all of that. I got a lot of video for you. I've got a lot of stuff to discuss. But I do want to start with the ICE appreciation party. I'm going to tell you a little story before I play the montage, the slideshow. First of all, apologies to those who couldn't make it and who were counting on watching it on the live stream. That was the plan from the get-go, is to live stream the entire event. And I had a video team and an audio team working on it very, very hard to do exactly that. Had we chosen just to live stream, we could have live streamed the entire event. It was around 2 hours and 20 minutes. But the team of very hardworking audio and video guys were trying to, at the same time, live stream the show over the internet on this channel. They were also trying to feed all of the television screens in the bar at McJames. I'll talk about McJames too in a moment. They were trying to feed the TV screen so you could see all of the videos. And all of the speakers, if you were not in a position in a place that was packed, it was standing room only. I mean, every seat was filled, and there were still people lining the wall standing. I was very, very, very happy with the turnout. But people who were standing in the part over by the bar area might not have been able to see the stage area that we had set up where the podium was, where we were giving our presentations. And so we wanted it all on the screens, in the full bar restaurant. So we had them trying to feed that. And when they fed the video to that, the audio would only come out through the TVs, which was very low. And the big speakers for the audio for the people in the room were not actively working. And so whenever they would get working, then the video couldn't be on the screen. And whenever both those things could happen, then the live stream couldn't happen. So it was a whole lot of square pegs and round holes that just didn't quite match up on the scene at the time. And those guys worked their butts off. They were there since 1 o'clock in the afternoon for an event that started at 6 p.m. And they, like I said, I have great thanks and great appreciation for them. I really mean that. They know that. I told them that. It was disappointing that we couldn't live stream. I'll tell you that too. I really am disappointed. But I understand things happen. And like I said, despite the best intentions, not everything always works exactly as planned. But I want to say that the video that is coming is going to be terrific, because Ron is going to take everything we intended to do at the party in real time, and he's going to produce, and it's in post-production now, he's going to produce the full 2-hour plus video. The nice thing is everything was recorded. Even though it wasn't all live streamed, it was all recorded. So it's going to be produced in a video, and it's going to be released, and I'm going to put it on the channel as a full episode as soon as it's done. It may take a few days. In fact, it will take a few days for a variety of reasons that I heard from yesterday from Ron. But it'll get done, and it's going to look amazing. And I think you'll really appreciate, those who were not there, what those of us who were there saw. And for those of us who were there, I got to tell you, I was so inspired and so moved by the presentations of our speakers. From Terry Smith, who just did, Terry wasn't scheduled to be a speaker, because my regular speakers, my conservative commentators, were obviously enough to fill any program. But Terry volunteered to come up and do what he did. He called me or texted me about, I don't know, a week before the event on Friday, and said, and if you know Terry, you know how kind of cool this is. Terry is like a kind of like a computer. He's like I don't know, old school Memorex. If you remember Live or is it Memorex? Terry has a memory for historical speeches. He doesn't read them at conservative gatherings and events and clubs and things like Friday night. He recites them from memory. Speeches done by Lincoln in the 1800s, speeches done by Reagan in the 1980s, MLK, JFK, and the one that he did, he texted me and said, Bob, since this is all about law enforcement, I would like to come up and do Paul Harvey's policeman speech from decades ago. And I said, you would? I said, deal. In like 0.2 seconds. And so Terry came up and delivered the Paul Harvey policeman address. And if you've never heard the policeman address, I should probably play it. Holy crap, I just came up with an idea. See, sometimes the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry, and sometimes the best laid plans of mice and men aren't laid at all. They're just thought of at the last second. And because I don't have the video of Terry doing, I just told you why, doing the Paul Harvey policeman recitation, but I can pull Paul Harvey up himself just to kind of show you what we're talking about here. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to play it in a few minutes. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to play it, but I've got it ready. Look at that. On the fly. Off the cuff radio is what we'll call this. Even though this is not radio now, it's podcasting and live streaming. Screw the corporate radio bastards. Okay. No, I want to keep this positive. I do. And I will. I'm going to play that for you when I'm done showing you the slideshow. But I want to get back to just my recap of the ICE party, the ICE Appreciation Party, which was called Frontline Freedom Fest. So Terry did an amazing rendition of the policeman, and I'll come back to that. Then we had Tom Zawistowski, who not only did he bring the fire for the reasons why we need to do this, stand with, let me do it for you here, because since I'm going backwards, stand with ICE. That's his message was spot on, but not only did he deliver an inspiring speech about why it is our duty, not just our choice, it's our responsibility to stand with our ICE agents. He also then put some money where his mouth was, and he offered to match what we raised for the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, because it was part charity on Friday. He said he offered to match what we raised himself personally, and which is just so incredible. And Tom, by the way, if you're watching, I'm going to get with you soon so we can total everything up here and tell you exactly what needs to be matched. But that's such a huge statement. So Tom Z did two things. He promoted and supported this event on his very popular newsletter, his popular Saturday podcast called, from the We the People convention. He promoted this thing. He appeared. He matched funds. Just a tremendous guy. So thank you, Tom Z. Can't tell you enough. Then we had the big man, and when I say the big man, I mean the big man. How many people here did not know what to expect when Sheriff Zukowski came into the room? If you had never met Sheriff Bruce Zukowski, I was fortunate because I first met him at a General Flynn event when General Flynn was in town last year, and I can't remember the specific date, but Sheriff Zukowski was there. We were at Kent, I believe it was at Kent. And Sheriff Zukowski, rolls in, and I'm just like, oh my! I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3". Well, I'm getting older, so I'm shrinking. I'm probably 6'2" now. I used to be nose to nose with my nearly 6'4" son, and now my nose is like at his lip level. And it's not because he's getting any taller at 22. It's because I'm shrinking. But anyway, I'm at 6'3". There aren't too many people I have to look up at. But I'm telling you, when Sheriff Zukowski walks in the room, I'm like this: "Hey, Sheriff, good to see you." I'm not making it up. I don't know if he's 6'8", 6'9", or whatever it is, but that's a mountain of a man. And he came in and commanded the room, as he does with every, in any room that he walks into. But he delivered some personal stories as a law enforcement officer, and he echoed why it is so important for local law enforcement like him, like sheriff's offices, departments, like local police and so forth, to cooperate with and work with ICE. Because when you do that, things get done safely. Apprehensions are made safely without having to do wide sweeping raids. When detainers are requested, you cooperate. If you're, if they're looking for individuals and you can participate in that search, then you do it. Great presentation by Sheriff Zukowski. You'll see him in the slideshow I'm about to play for you. Gidget. Here, look at this. See, I told you I could pop this up here now. Sarah Gidget says, I'm 5'1" and took my pic with Sheriff Z. He looks like a cutout in the picture. I got to see that picture. Oh, no, that's not Gidget. I'm sorry. That's Christine. That's not Gidget saying that. That's Christine. Sorry. Yeah, Gidget's not 5'1". I mean, that's blasphemy. She's not 5 foot. Yeah, good thing they had tall ceilings down there. PIM, smart ass. We don't need that out of you. And yes, holy crap, that is a big dude. You are exactly right. Agree, Tom Z. He is awesome. Yeah, and look, folks already kind of getting, I'm really going to try to keep up with this chat today, especially since we're doing a guest-free thing today. Very relevant speech for today's times, says Trump X3. And I met Trump times 3 also on Friday, which was so cool. It's going to be very hard to... Victor Sim, here and ready to leer. The Leering Center sign. We had folks playing pin the N on the Leering Center sign, which I think there's a picture or two in the slideshow I'm going to play. It'll be in the videos too. But yes, the Leering Center, ready to leer. Let's see. Our priest stopped streaming mass because it was driving lower attendance. I don't know exactly what that meant, but Black Belt, yes, you can order those from bobfrance.com. The T-shirts, Black Belt and everybody else, and thanks for asking. The t-shirts are available. It's probably still going to be, it might be a little confusing. I've got to edit the page, but it's the place where you bought the tickets for the event. Beneath that, you could also order the t-shirts. So when you go to bobfrance.com, you're probably still going to see the ticket thing and you might get confused. Just ignore that. Go right down past it to the t-shirts. Click that picture of the t-shirts. It's this one, because I do have this still ready to go here. Yeah, you're going to see this picture of the t-shirts there. You can click that and then you can order right there. And I will make sure to personally send these out. I've got the boxes and boxes of the t-shirts because I know people are going to want these. Knew them not only at the event where people got them free for attending, for paid attendance, but people are going to want them who didn't get to come, and people who came who wanted them for other people who weren't able to come. So you can order them at bobfrance.com. And I'm going to have a whole website, by the way, of merchandise that I'm actually working on. I started working on this weekend of Strictly Speaking gear. And it's not all Strictly Speaking, but some of it will have the logo on it. Like the back of the shirt has the logo on it. But it's going to be a whole lot of other things involving the things that we stand for here. So I'll tell you more about that when the time comes. I don't want to digress too far from where we are right now. But going back to the event, so Sheriff Zukowski was tremendous, and then we played some games, and we had some fun, and we played some music, and then we came back after a short intermission, and then we had. Oh, by the way, thank you to Mark King. Mark King stepped up for me and for us in such a huge way. Mark King, of course. Let me throw this up here again just to remind you that Mark King, my guy. Mark King, who is our one of our foundational sponsors. He was the first person to step up and step in to sponsor this new broadcast venture and what we are building to be something that'll be much more influential as time goes on. But a month and a half, 2 months ago, Mark came in and stepped up and said, I want to support and sponsor your show. Then when the ICE appreciation event happened, he said, I want to help sponsor that too. And he wrote a check to help pay for a lot of the expenses we had to deal with to hold that event on Friday. And then he said, how else can I help? And he showed up there and he helped sell T-shirts. He helped work the door. He helped every way. If you are a Medicare, let me get that. Hold on a second. Let me get the comment off the screen because I think it's blocking the phone number there. See, now I'm getting into a little bit of a which comment is showing right now? I need to hide the current comment. There we go. Okay, I don't want that phone number to be blocked there. This is as good a time as any, I suppose, to tell you what I need to tell you about Mark King, and it's pretty easy for me to do. But that phone number there is the number to call if you've got Medicare questions. If you are already a Medicare recipient and you don't know if you're getting the best deal for yourself, or if you are aging into Medicare this year, you want to call Mark King because that's the guy. I've been talking, I'm not talking about Mark's Medicare business, keeping Medicare simple, because he helped me. Mark helped me because I have been talking to people and recommending his Medicare business for years on the radio side. So just so you know, this is so much more than just sponsorship. It is friendship, and it is a true belief in what he does. But if you've got questions about Parts A and Parts B and prescription drug coverage and supplements and private plans and which ones are the best ones for you, what's available in Northeast Ohio versus where you might be. It's very easy to be overwhelmed by this, but Mark has been making it simple for years. That's why the business is called Keeping Medicare Simple. He focuses on education first. He helps you understand how Medicare works, how the prescription drug coverage fits in, how private Medicare plans differ, all without pressure or confusion. And that's why go to the website, keepingmedicaresimple.com, keepingmedicaresimple.com. Don't just type in Keeping Medicare Simple in the search engine and expect to find it, because it's going to take you to a whole bunch of other places because you've just been loose with the terms. But no, use the URL, keepingmedicaresimple.com, and that'll take you to the page. It's very user-friendly, and that'll help you find the number again to call, 440-832-8936. Mark is like I said, he's brilliant at what he does, and we are honored to have him as a friend and as a partner and as a foundational sponsor of this program. So really, really important stuff there. Okay. So then we did our little intermission. Mark led us. That's where I was going with this. Mark led us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which was so appreciated. And then Peter Kirsanow came up. And Kirsanow, he's a star in every room he enters, the civil rights commissioner. And Friday was no different. He brought statistics, he brought facts, and he brought truth about why it is un-American to not support our federal law enforcement agents because of the number of literal terrorists who have been allowed into this country in the previous 4 years by the Biden regime. Terrorists were allowed into this country by the thousands, not to mention an extraordinary number of Chinese nationals who are not family, were not with families, but they were military-aged men. Thousands of them came into this country illegally. And that doesn't even begin to touch the drug cartel members, the human traffickers, the drug traffickers, the murderers and the rapists, and the individuals who escaped from other countries' prisons or were let out of them. All of these people, putting Americans in danger. And Pete Kirsanow brought the statistics, the receipts, as they say, as you kind of knew he would. He's just a phenomenal speaker. And then we wrapped the night with some games. We played musical deportations. Congratulations to our musical deportation champion. He gets to stay in the country. The politically incorrect mechanic won the musical chairs game we did. Then we had we didn't do the full-on competition of the three-legged race we wanted to do because we ran out of time and people were starting to file out. But we had a three-legged race in which two of our awful protesters were being chased by the ICE agents in the race, and it was just great fun. And before I play the slideshow, I just want to kind of point out what you're about to see. Our awfuls, for those who don't know and weren't there, our awfuls, which stands for AWFL, stands for Angry White Leftist, female leftists, or Angry White Female Liberals, because they just seem to be the driving force behind all of the protests and the misery and everything else that happens. The ones like Renee Good and her wife, who are obstructing and impeding law enforcement in Minneapolis, these awfuls. They were represented by some of my unfiltered insiders. And these are the people that are members of our locals community and that are on the inside. I have personal meetings with them on a regular basis, sometimes to strategize, sometimes it's going to be just to socialize. And we're going to get together in different parts of Northeast Ohio. We've already met in Strongsville. We're going to meet in Independence. We're going to meet a little more south. We'll meet in Medina. We'll meet up on the lake. We'll go all over the place. But the insiders are very special to me because they stepped up and were also supporters financially of the program by subscribing and being monthly supporters. But my insiders do more than just that support. They helped me plan this event. They helped me carry out the event. They sold the shirts. They worked the door. They worked the pin the end on the Leering Center. They worked in just myriad ways. I can't even tell you. And then some of them dressed up and were part of our props. They bought blue and red and purple wigs to represent the nut jobs that are out there in the streets protesting ICE. They put on temporary tattoos on their arms. They carried signs that said ICE out now and all kinds of borders are racist and all kinds of other things. They were wearing Democrat T-shirts, the white T-shirts with the blue D in a circle. And they were the foils, if you will. They were our faux protesters to really kind of set the vibe that we were going after here. And they even did their own little skit where they were running through the room and being chased by John Tamborello, our chief ICE agent. They were just so much fun. I want to say thank you to them because they made the whole thing event. And by the way, they fooled some people too, particularly Sally and her husband. They were sitting in a corner, just, Sally was wearing her medical mask, her COVID mask, while wearing the T-shirt and holding the signs and had her blue wig on and, ICE out now. And I had people coming up to me and seeing them and going, are they the only ones? I go, what do you mean? The protesters, are they the only ones who were allowed in or got in? And I had to tell them, oh my gosh, they were playing their part so well. People thought they were actual protesters. We would not have let them in if they were actual protesters. They were our props. They were our friends. They were our performance actors, and they played their roles magnificently. So that's the best I can give you for a recap. I told you we were going to have a great time. I was very happy with the turnout. It was very crowded down there. It was pretty much what I wanted it to be, shoulder to shoulder, great food. Oh, one more note before we get into today's news and before I give you the ice party slideshow. When I got there, there was, which was around 4:00 for the thing that started at 6. There was some consternation. There was some concern on the part of the owner of the establishment and staff. And bottom line is there were some of the nut jobs making threats. They were calling the police station. They were calling the mayor's office. They were making threats against McJames and against Adam. And the goal was to try to get them to shut it down. And Adam was nervous, very, very nervous, as a matter of fact. But I want to point something out. Courage takes many forms. And the courage that was shown after I talked to Adam, and I talked to Mayor Ed Orcutt, who talked to his chief of police. And I want to tell you, Adam said, I don't care what their threats are. After some real hard moments of thought and conversation, I'm not going to let them do this. I'll tell you a story. And I talked to Mayor Orcutt, and he talked to his chief of police. And they said they'll do whatever they had to support Adam's right to have this event in his bar and restaurant at McJames. And they weren't going to allow protesters and people making threats to stop an event which is lawful, which is private, RSVP only, to be held in a play. And by the way, an event that is celebrating law and order. That's what it's about. We're there to support cops, all kinds of cops, local cops, all the way up to federal cops, and that's what they are. Why would anybody want to shut that down? But they wanted to, and they tried to, and they had Adam very, very nervous for quite a while on Friday afternoon. But the mayor stepped in a big way and supported Adam, as did the chief of police and Adam himself, and the courage that they all showed to say, do what you've got to do. We'll make sure things are safe outside. And they did. And I want to thank them for that. Mayor gave me his word and backed it up. And then the mayor and the chief of police actually showed up toward the end of the event and came inside, came downstairs and socialized a little bit with the attendees and saw what we were doing. It was exactly what we said it was going to be. And like I said, so huge support from the mayor and huge thanks to the mayor. Mayor Orcutt, really appreciated. And to the chief of police who came in as well. That was big time. And then to Adam for having the guts. Here's what I want to ask you to do. All right. And this is important. I want to ask you to get online and go to any of the review sites, whether it's Google reviews and I don't even know what they're all called, actually. I don't like using Google, but there is a review page. I don't even know what all of the different places where you can review restaurants are and businesses. But the idiots in trying to shut down the event, we're hitting Adams long before the event started on Friday. We're hitting Adams as soon as it was announced that McJames Sports Pub was going to be the location. They hit Adams reviews with 1-star reviews. People who don't even live in Ohio, people who from all over, just the awfuls, the lunatics. They're trying to hurt businesses that cooperate with and show support for ICE. They want everybody to hate law enforcement and love criminals. They want everybody to support the perpetrators of murder and rape and pedophilia and sex trafficking and drug trafficking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They want you to support them and demonize law enforcement rather than support law enforcement and demonize the criminals. That's what makes them lunatics. If that doesn't sound batsh crazy, then I don't know what does. So they're trying to hurt Adam's business by putting a bunch of 1-star reviews up there. to lower the overall star rating. So if people are looking for a place to eat, oh, what's this place? It's only got an average of 3.5 out of 5 stars. That's what they do. We need to counter that and build that average up to what it should be. It's a 5-star establishment. It should be treated as such. So even if you haven't been there, and that might sound disingenuous, but again, neither have the idiots who are protesting and giving them 1 star. Even if you've never been there, get online, find a place, and build that reputation back up. Give 5-star reviews to McJames. Really, really important. Politically incorrect mechanic chiming in. What do you got? Google and Yelp are the 2 main. Okay, there. Yelp is the one I couldn't think of. I couldn't remember what the name of it was. Liberty Bell says Travel Advisor and Yelp. Okay, that's another one I wouldn't have thought of, but I've heard of it. I know what Travel Advisor is, so thank you. That's good. Let's see. The mayor and the chief showed up too. Yep, sure did. The party was a blast, says CMG. Appreciate that. Had to do a double. Look at Trump times 3. I admit, had to do a double take when I first saw the Awfuls, because they did. They dressed in costume and played their role so perfectly, and people were really kind of weirded out. It's like, wow, did Bob allow the protesters to come in here too? No, we did not. I am Roz. I met Roz for the first time, and Roz was a sweetheart. And she said I confronted them. Good stuff. Good stuff, everybody. So anyway, yeah, let's help support Adam and McJames by giving him 5-star reviews. All right, that's enough of the verbal recap. I want to go ahead and bring the slideshow up now for you. So this was. Again, this is a temporary placeholder for the video that is being produced. Okay, so the entire event, and I know there are a lot of people who couldn't come right now who wish they could hear what Kirsten said, who wish they could hear what Tom Z said, who wish they could hear what Sheriff Zukowski said, or the policeman reading that, or recitation that Terry Smith did. You will eventually. Like I said, that video is in post-production. It will be ready when it's ready, probably a few days. According to what Ron told me, there's a few equipment obstacles, but it'll be ready in a few days. So until then, when you can see the whole thing, I am going to give you just the official, there were 330 photographs on this thumb drive that was given to me by our photographer. And a phenomenal job, by the way. But just to make this less than 11 minutes long, I cut it down to around 150 photos or 170 or whatever it is. So this is a slideshow that I put together with music, the music that I would have played at the event had we not had our tech snafu. So I just put this together as an easy way for you to kind of see what went down, maybe see some of the faces that go with some of the names. And just to kind of, like I said, give, a preview, if you will, of the video that's coming later. So settle in and check the photos, look for yourself, because I think they got almost every corner of the room at one point or another with the photography on Friday. So enjoy.
Crank it up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the bad, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down. We just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the still talking loud. Hand of the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to a rail, from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell. Clock in at midnight, vest on, boots laced. Another name on the paper, another hard case. Got a wife back in Lubbock, kids in their Sunday best. I ain't some villain in a movie, I'm a man doing my best. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Saw you playing for cameras, shoving phones in my crew, spitting words like traitor, like you know what we go through. When you circle that transport, like it's some kind of game, there's a scared little girl in the backseat, you don't even know her name. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I'll hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Then you shove them into harm's way. You turn a bus into a battlefield. I'm just trying to get them home today. Call me every name you can think of, I'll still show up when it hits the fan. When the dust clears, when fear's near, we'll see who really ran. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I'll hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand.
That's just and by the way, I know there are many more pictures out there, but that's just from the thumb drive that was given to me by our professional photographer who did a phenomenal job. Yeah, what do you think, chatters? Let me have a look. The awful showed up. Yes, they yes, they did, Lindy. They showed up. The awfuls, but again, if you missed the first part of our introduction before I put that up there, these were our faux protesters. They were us dressed up as let me pop this on the screen there. Look at this. You see, they were fooling people. They did such a phenomenal job of playing their roles, and like I said, they went all out. They went online, they went on Amazon or wherever it was and bought the wigs, and they bought some of the other costumes. Fake piercings. They had nose piercings and all kinds of other things just to kind of make it look like, to play the part, if you will. Let's see. Some awesome shot. Let's see, what does politically incorrect mechanic say here? Some awesome shots of the top of my head. Who could have done without that? That's what they make hats for, brother. That's what they make hats for. John. Oh yeah, John. John is our photographer. Thank you, Casey. John. I always forget names, or often forget names anyway. Thank you. John already did the 5 stars for McFan. Good. Currently at 4.5 on Google and Yelp. That's overcoming some of the 1-star reviews, so that's good. Yeah, support them. Support Adam and his team. It was great. Okay. So I've got one more thing to do here relative to Friday night, and then we'll move on with the news of the day today. And there was a lot to get into today. By the way, if you are just turning the show on, you want the shirt, you got to let me know. Go to bobfrance.com. Ignore the ticket purchasing thing. I'm going to have to refresh that whole page up, and because the event is now over, but there's going to be a place to buy tickets for the event, and then there's going to be a place to buy a shirt. You're just going to do the shirt, and when you run it, we'll get your information, and I will make sure it gets sent out to you. All right. So if you want to get your I Stand With Ice shirt, the way everybody who came to the event on Friday got, please go ahead and get your get that order in. So the last thing I wanted to do here is I want to play the actual Paul Harvey clip that was done by Terry Smith, our guy, who, again, like I praised him when I introduced him. I said the guy's like a cyborg. He's like got some kind of like an automatic playback in his brain where he can memorize or does memorize speeches, historical speeches, some of like the most amazing in the history of the country. From Lincoln to, presidents and so forth for, decades gone by. And he does this, I think probably some from Washington too. I've never asked him what his entire catalog of memorized speeches is in his brain is, but he messaged me, as I said before, about a week before Friday's event and said, if you'd like, I'll come and do the Paul Harvey policeman speech that Paul Harvey did decades ago. I don't know exactly when it was. And I said, that would be amazing because this is a pro-law enforcement event that we were holding. That would be incredible. And he came, and not only did he do the speech, which I've seen him do at a number of conservative club events as well. He'll do all of the speeches I'm mentioning. Not only did he do this straight from memory, he actually did a little bit of vocal impression and did a little bit of, sounding like Paul Harvey. So again, I don't have that on tape ready to go yet. It is on tape, but it's going to be a part of the released video from the entire thing. I don't have it accessible right now, but just for those who don't know what we're talking about, if you've never heard the Paul Harvey policeman speech, which I learned through Terry, something I did not know before. The reason this was personal to Paul Harvey, as the story goes, that Terry told me, is Paul Harvey was about 3 years old when his father was shot and killed. His father was a police officer, and he was shot and killed by robbers. So that's pretty incredible. I did not know that part of the history of this, which is one of the reasons why Paul Harvey is so passionate about this speech that you're about to hear. So since Terry did this live for us, I'll give you the original right now just to kind of wrap our ICE party recap here.
Policeman. A policeman is a composite of what all men are, I guess, a mingling of saint and sinner, dust and deity. Called statistics, wave the fan over stinkers, underscore instances of dishonesty and brutality because they are news. What that really means is that they are exceptional, they are unusual, they are not commonplace. Buried under the froth is the fact. And the fact is that less than 0.5% of policemen misfit that uniform. And that is a better average than you'd find among clergymen. What is a policeman? He of all men is at once the most needed and the most wanted. A strangely nameless creature who is sir to his face and pig or worse behind his back. He must be such a diplomat that he can settle differences between individuals so that each will think he won. But if a policeman is neat, he's conceited. If he's careless, he's a bum. If he's pleasant, he's a flirt. If he's not, he's a grouch. He must make instant decisions which would require months for a lawyer. But if he hurries, he's careless. If he's deliberate, he's lazy. He must be first to an accident, infallible with a diagnosis. He must be able to start breathing, stop bleeding, tie splints, and above all, be sure the victim goes home without a limp or expect to be sued. The police officer must know every gun, draw on the run, and hit where it doesn't hurt. He must be able to whip two men twice his size and half his age without damaging his uniform and without being brutal. If you hit him, he's a coward. If he hits you, he's a bully. A policeman must know everything and not tell. He must know where all of the sin is and not partake. The policeman from a single human hair must be able to describe the crime, the weapon, the criminal, and tell you where the criminal is hiding. But if he catches the criminal, he's lucky. If he doesn't, he's a dunce. If he gets promoted, he has political pull. If he doesn't, he's a dullard. The policeman must chase bum leads to a dead end, stake out 10 nights to tag one witness who saw it happen but refuses to remember. He runs files and writes reports until his eyes ache to build a case against some felon who will get dealed out by a shameless Seamus or an honorable who isn't honorable. The policeman must be a minister, a social worker, a diplomat, a tough guy, and a gentleman. And of course, he'll have to be a genius because he'll have to feed a family on a policeman's salary.
There you go. That's it. I just literally pulled it up on YouTube at the start of the show because I was talking about the amazing job that Terry did on that event. So, yeah, that's it. That's why we did what we did. And I want to remind you of the request that I made before I put that whole thing together for Friday. Don't just let the slideshow that you just watched be the only thing that's out there. If you took pictures or videos at all of the events of Friday night at McJames, share them with everybody. Share them with one another, people in the chat. You put it on your social media, you tell them to put your video on their social media, and vice versa all around. Put it on public social media, not just your own pages. If you can post things on other platforms, on community news, Facebook pages, for example. You know, I live in Elyria, and there's an Elyria's front porch is a thing. You know, Wadsworth this, or Medina that, or Strongsville this, or Brunswick that, or whatever. You know, post them in public places and show them what true support for law enforcement looks like. Do not be deterred, and do not think that everything is going to have been solved because we did this. This was supposed to be a first, step for others to follow. You know, we want to make, and I want it to be seen not just all over Northeast Ohio, but I want it to be seen all over the internet. I want people in Colorado to look and say, what is this? Some party that somebody did in Ohio, a pro-cop party, a pro-police party, or a pro-ICE party. And wow, never heard of this before, but who's this commissioner guy, Kursanau? Did you hear that? Did you know that? I want people to be moved by it. And I want people to say, let's hold one of our own. So that's going to entail you sharing. So everybody who's watching right now, and I don't care if you're watching this during the live stream or if you're watching this during the, later on from the channel, but please take the information that you get from this. And when the videos the video is put together, the one and that's going to be flooded everywhere as well. It's going to be a 2.5 hour long video that's being produced for me. But I'm going to cut it up and give bits and pieces and portions of the speeches as quickly as I can and as widely spread as I can, so more and more people get the real truth out there and understand why it's so important for us to do what we're doing here, which is support. So please, everybody, remember that. Please try to remember that. The goal is going to be to let everybody know that this happened so that it can be replicated in other places. All right? All right. Having said all of that, I want to remind you that we are very proud to be partners with our friends at Americans for Prosperity. AFP, Americans for Prosperity. This is the organization that has put together the Buckeye Blueprint. All right. Buckeye Blueprint is a huge, huge game plan, if you will. It's kind of like a playbook on how we can take advantage of and make Ohio what it can be, the best thing that it can be. Because quite frankly, for too long, Ohio has settled for being in the middle of the Midwest, both literally, geographically, and also statistically. It doesn't have to be that way. The Buckeye Blueprint builds a bolder, better Buckeye state so we can lead the nation rather than middle in the middle. Lead the nation in economic freedom. Give parents real education options. Lead the nation in affordable and reliable energy, and make government work for the people again. It's not about politics. It's about policy. It's about Ohio's future. And if you believe our state should be number one in this country, not average, get involved right now. Take action at BuckeyeBlueprint.com. That's BuckeyeBlueprint.com. And thank you to AIP for being a foundational supporter and sponsor and partner of Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. All right, we've got some other things to get to. President Trump issued a declarative on, yesterday, I guess. I don't know if it was yesterday or if it was Saturday, but it was over the weekend. And I want to share this with you because he's not wrong. He rarely is. And I've told you the few instances that I believe he was. He is not wrong about this. The SAVE Act is the only thing that can save the country. This is what he put on Truth Social. Again, I don't know if this was on Friday or Saturday, but here we go. Great job by hardworking Scott Pressler on Fox and Friends talking about using the filibuster or talking filibuster in order to pass the Save America Act. An 88% issue with all voters. It must be done immediately. It supersedes everything else. Must go to the front of the line. I, as president, will not sign other bills until this is passed, and not the watered down version. Go for the gold. Must show voter ID and proof of citizenship. No mail-in ballots except for military, illness, disability, and travel. And then, well, I'll just read it. No men and women's sports, no transgender and he meant to say mutilation. It says mutilization, but it's mutilation. Do not fail, President Donald J. Trump. Quite frankly, I don't know why those last couple were put in there. I agree with them. We should have no men and women's sports, and we should have no transgender mutilation of children. Totally agree with that, but I don't know what that has to do with the SAVE Act. I don't think that should be within the SAVE Act. I want these bills to be specific to what they are, and that is about voting. The SAVE Act is about voting, and that's where it needs to stay. But his point earlier in this message is, of course, the right point. It does supersede everything else. It must go to the front of the line, or we will lose the republic. I hope that's clear. And I hope President Trump made it clear. If we don't pass the SAVE Act, we lose the republic. Okay? Citizens only, according to the United States Constitution, are allowed to vote. How could it possibly be anything other than common sense and matter of fact and matter of law that we then require people to prove they are citizens before they drop their ballot in a box? Right? That's not that controversial. Only citizens are allowed to vote, so therefore you have to show that you're a citizen. It's like going into a members-only club. If it's a social club, a dinner club, I don't care what it is. If there are membership clubs, if I go to the Polish club, of which we are members, my wife would have to show proof of her membership at the UPC. If you belong to any other group, if you belong to a moose organization or an elk organization or whatever, you have to show your proof of identification on the way in. You can't go into a place that isn't that you're not a member of. Well, you can't go into a voting booth and vote unless you're a member of the electorate. That means being a U.S. citizen, so you have to show it. That's not hard. And that's just to register. It's not like you have to carry your birth certificate around and show your birth certificate at the polling place, at your precinct. You just have to show it when you register. Then when you get to the precinct, you have to show your ID, just your picture that shows, look at me. Yeah, this is me. It's not complicated. Prove who you say you are, who you say you are. It's the only way to make sure that my cat is bumping around. I don't know if you're hearing the meows or not, but my cat is bumping around my legs right now. So what happens, I have to leave the studio door open just a crack because the big dog will scare the cat. So sometimes she likes to come in here. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. If this doesn't get done, then we lose the republic, and President Trump knows it, which is why he issued this declaration and why the pressure now is rising, as it should, more and more and more on John Thune, because John Thune is, of course, the majority leader in the United States Senate, and he's the only one who could call this for a vote. This has already passed the House. It will and should pass the Senate. If the American people are truly represented by quote unquote representatives, every senator will vote for this. Because it is what Donald Trump said in that message. It's an 88% issue. 88% of the American people say, yes, we should have voter ID, and yes, we should have only citizens voting. That includes like 72% of even the demon rats. Like 72% of them say this. Virtually all of the Republican side say this, but 72% of the Democrats do. It all totals up to around 88%. So if we're represented by our representatives, they'll do what we damn well tell them to do, which is pass the SAVE Act. Make sure that our elections are beyond reproach. Make sure that they are known to be reliable. They are known to be trustworthy, and make sure that the people we choose are actually the ones who win. And I'm not just going back here to the argument that has been made, of course, about 2020. I know it was stolen. You know it was stolen. But this is about so much more than that. There have been questionable election results and vote tallies and election practices and so forth in a lot of jurisdictions. And there are countless numbers of people. I'm going to share something with you that just occurred to me. I posted this on my Facebook page Saturday, maybe. This was actually another show. Is it Todd Starnes? I think it's Todd Starnes. Yeah. I'm going to share this because I'm giving full attribution to it. I think I can do this. But I want to share this from Todd Starnes' work.
Fox News ran this graph, yeah.
Hold on a second there, Todd. Hold on a second here. The Blaze. Not Todd Starnes. It's Steve Deace. Where do I get Todd Starnes from? I'm sorry. I'm mixing up my conservative allies here. So this is Steve Deace doing a piece on The Blaze. And I shared it on my Facebook page because I didn't know these numbers. I knew the general gist of what is presented here, but I didn't know the numbers were this staggering until I saw this. And so I put it on my Facebook page, and I wanted everybody else to see it. And that would include you. So watch this and tell me if you knew this before. This is why the SAVE Act is so extraordinarily important. Why President Trump called it, quote unquote, before all else, or supersedes all else. He will not sign any other legislation that comes his way until this gets passed. Because he knew about this. I didn't. And now we're all about to know about these numbers. Listen.
Fox News ran this graph yesterday. Non-citizen Social Security numbers issued during the Biden administration, 270,000 in 21, over 590,000 in 22.
Pause it before he continues. Did you know that non-citizens were given Social Security numbers in this country? They are, which is in and of itself, again, bat bleep crazy, because that Social Security number and that card probably helps them get other things like phony identifications and opportunities to do things like vote in our elections. So let me say that just right off the top here, that the numbers that he's quoting from Fox News, 270,000 non-citizens. That means not necessarily all illegal. They can be legal residents here, students here, workers on visas and so forth. But non-citizens getting Social Security numbers. I'll let it continue now.
During the Biden administration, 270,000 in 21, over 590,000 in 22. over 960,000 in 23, over 2.1 million in 24. Gee, I wonder why that escalated so much in 24. Because what are you probably more likely to legitimately be able to claim if you've got a social security card?
Citizenship voting.
By the way, that's more people. The Biden administration gave more non-citizens social security cards in 4 years than live in our home state of Iowa. If we just took the amount of people they gave those to in 2024, that's more people than live in Nebraska, Idaho, West Virginia, Hawaii, New Hampshire, Maine, Montana, Rhode Island, Delaware, South Dakota, North Dakota, Alaska, DC, Vermont, and Wyoming. It would be the 39th largest state in the union. Just the amount of people, non-Americans, they gave social security cards to. Over 960.
All right, that's enough. I'm mind blown by that, to be 100% honest. Excuse me. I am absolutely mind blown by that. I knew that we gave away social security cards or social security numbers, gave them out to non-citizens. I did not know it was at that scale. I did not know the numbers were that crazy. 270,000 in 2021. 500 plus thousand in 2022, 900 plus thousand in 2023, 2.1 million just in time for the elections of 2024. And despite that, despite the potential for and the likelihood of rampant fraud, Trump won anyway, going away. Popular vote and electoral landslide in the Electoral College. That will not happen again if we don't pass the SAVE Act, because that is the kind of thing that they do. They will flood the country with illegals or with non-citizens, give them all social security cards, give them access to voting by not requiring them to prove their citizenship when they are at, because the social security card alone won't do that. It helps them get other identification, but it won't alone allow you to register. You're going to have to show a birth certificate, or if you're a married woman, because this is what they try to do, this game. It really, really gets tiresome. Oh, you're telling women, this is first they're trying to disenfranchise black people. They don't want more blacks voting because more blacks vote for Democrats. So this is Trump trying to stop blacks from voting. It's Jim Crow 2.0. We keep hearing this from people like Chuck Schumer, right? So that's how the Republicans plan to cheat in the election, is they're going to deny black people the right to vote, because black people are just too slow-witted and incapable of getting something like a driver's license. I won't rehash the bigotry of soft bigotry of low expectations, but to assume that somebody of color cannot get driver's licenses or find their way to a DMV, as well as a non, or a white person or a majority person, if you will, majority versus minority. It's just about the biggest form of racism you can possibly put together, saying that they're less than capable. But then women too. Women, oh my gosh. Women were born with one name, but then they changed their name when they got married. And so therefore their birth certificate isn't going to show who they really are. So women aren't going to be allowed to vote. More women vote Democrats too. You know which women, don't you? The awfuls. But once again, this is all covered in the SAVE Act. When you have to prove your citizenship to register to vote, a marriage license showing your name change is perfectly acceptable. That shouldn't be that doggone difficult to find. And if it is, make a phone call. Call your county office, your county administrator, and say, where do I get a copy of my marriage license? I've lost mine. It was burned in a fire. I'm a doofus and I threw it away. Whatever. Find your document and present it. It's not that doggone difficult. And that's what they're trying to make it seem as though that it is, that we're trying to make you people jump through the hoops so they just say, forget it, I won't vote. No, we want everybody who's eligible to vote, but most importantly, we want those who are not eligible, those who are not citizens, or they are not who they say they are. We don't want them to be able to vote. So President Trump just laid all of that out and expertly, as far as I'm concerned. All right. I want to talk about Iran, but I also want to talk about terrorism in New York City. You've heard of, obviously, both of these things. Iran now, the quote-unquote Iran war is in its second week. It started a week ago Saturday, so it's in its second week, and it's only being ramped up. They're just getting warmed up. We don't know exactly what that means, and that's good. We shouldn't, because it would be stupid to tell us exactly what that means. But some of the leaders in the Trump administration, including the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, they are doing interviews and they are talking to the press about what the people do need to know and what they should know, but they're keeping, their powder dry with respect to what they should not know. So I want to kind of share a few clips with you here. And this will be the first one. Pete Hegseth sat down actually with 60 Minutes, and this just aired last night. There are actually a couple here. Yeah, I guess this one is fine. But let's check in and see what the Secretary of War had to say about where this Iran war, and I guess we're getting to the place where we have to call it a war and not just a conflict of sorts. Here we go. And not just, precision military strikes. It's going to have to be called a war if we put boots on the ground. But does the administration have a plan here, or are we entering unknown territory and potentially into a quote unquote forever war? The Secretary of War says not a chance.
I'm in the room every day, and I see how President Trump operates and what he's putting first, and it's America, Americans, and American interests.
It has been said that the Israelis, through Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, provided on February 23rd key information about intelligence they had developed about the likely whereabouts of Ali Khamenei and many in his inner circle. That the U.S. then checked it out through the CIA, confirmed that, and that was an opportunity that presented itself to the president. And that was the precipitating factor for this war. That's the way it's been reported. Is that accurate, Mr. Secretary?
President Trump's approach has been our interest in advancing those interests from the beginning. And so the fact that intelligence was gathered, whether from Israelis or ours, and always checked by our intel agencies to make sure it's accurate. A lot of times the best way to start operations is a trigger-based or condition-based moment. And you can work together on whether that makes sense. But we were always controlling the throttle about whether or not to go or not go, and ultimately to advance American interests and protect American lives.
So again, anybody who says that this is not a very well thought out and well coordinated plan of action in Iran is lying to you, because this is very, very strategic. They know exactly what they're doing. And if you're not listening to people like Secretary of State Marco Rubio, or in this case, Secretary Hegseth, you just don't want to believe it. You don't want to believe that they know what they're doing. Now, where's the other Hegseth clip that I had for you here? Is it this one? Well, this one is not bad. This isn't the one I wanted, but this is not bad either. So let's watch this.
There was a very long war between Iran and Iraq, almost 8 years, and they never surrendered in that war. And I'm just wondering if that factors into your calculus or the president's calculus.
I mean, there was a really long fight that I was a part of, and my generation was a part of.
I know that.
In Iraq and Afghanistan, where a lot of foolish approaches were used. This is war. This is conflict. This is bringing your enemy to their knees. Now, whether they will have a ceremony in Tehran Square and surrender, that's up to them.
There was a
bring them to their knees. How they surrender is up to them. That is perfectly well stated. Now, what I want to do here is, this is the other clip that I was actually looking for. And this one I think is a little bit more to the point about whether or not we are actually at war right now. This is a clip of Secretary Hegseth with 60 Minutes last night talking, and I'll have a personal story related to this in a moment too, talking about what the actual game plan is going forward, and will we have boots on the ground? And if we do have boots on the ground, does this not make a declaration of war necessary by the Congress? Here's what Secretary Hegseth said.
People ask boots on the ground, no boots on the ground, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, go in. President Trump knows, I know, you don't tell the enemy, you don't tell the press, you don't tell anybody what your limits would be on an operation. We're willing to go as far as we need to in order to be successful. People ask boots.
That's a good answer. I'm okay with that answer. We're not going to tell you. We're not going to tell the press. We're not going to tell anybody about what our plans are, because that would not be smart. Obviously, it would be counterproductive to our mission. We don't let people know what we're planning. But I think I can read between the lines there. And I did see a separate report yesterday in doing my homework that there are plans for U.S. Special Forces, at least some. We're not talking about sending battalions in, but there are certain special forces that are going to have to go in on the ground American special forces with Israeli special forces working together to get certain information and to access locations that are going to be crucial to ending this conflict with full and total surrender by Iran. That you cannot do with military strikes. Okay, that's what the game plan is. And if that happens, then we're going to have questions, and those questions are going to be, do we need a congressional declaration now? Now, I'm confident, just like we had the victory in the vote last week on the war powers that the Democrats wanted to limit. The Democrats wanted to pass a resolution limiting the power of the president to make these strikes and to do these things. And, it was defeated. I'm sorry, it passed. The Democrats' effort was defeated. So we had the ability to do this. But if we do put troops on the ground, whether it's one set of boots or 500 boots or whatever the case might be, do we now need a full declaration of war by the Congress? Do they get to have a say now? It's a legit question. I'm being 100% frank. It's a legit question. It's one thing to do bombing runs. It's another thing to do ground invasions. And again, whether it's a small force slipping in under the cover of night, or whether it's a battalion or what have you, that's gonna probably involve the Congress. I'm pretty confident that even if they do that, they ask for the declaration, it will pass. It'll be narrow. It'll be almost exclusively partisan in terms of the outcome of the vote, but I think it is something that would pass. All right. The problem lies in part with guys like this, guys like Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, of course, is one of the pencil neck. Adam Schiff is one of the worst members of Congress, and now he's a member of the United States Senate that we have ever had in this country. He sat down with Bill Maher, who is becoming, even for conservatives, he's becoming must-watch television or commentary or podcast or whatever, because he does not mind doing hard work here. And this is part of the work that has to be done. Adam Schiff was asked by Bill Maher, and hang on a second, I got to pull up the right clip here. Adam Schiff was asked by Bill Maher about the president's authority to conduct these war operations, even without a declaration of war, these strikes and so forth, based on the way it had been done previously. And he walked him into a trap. And this is why Bill Maher, who is a liberal, an atheist liberal, no less, but it's why Bill Maher is must-watch television now. He's willing to do this to people with whom he normally agrees, talking about Democrats. But watch and listen to this. It's important.
And the president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest. That's too vague for you?
Totally vague.
Okay, because that's from Obama about Libya.
Well, Obama made the argument initially that he could go into Syria without an authorization. I and many others pushed back on that argument. Ultimately, he did not go forward with going after Assad, even though Assad was gassing his own people, because he thought he might lose the vote in Congress.
Okay, this is what we're talking about. Lying, cheating, stealing, dishonest, disingenuous, decadent, debauched Democrats. Not one god-daggone word was asked about Syria, pencil neck. Not one word. He asked you about Libya. He quoted Obama and made you think he was quoting Trump. And you walked right into the trap, you stupid pencil neck son of a... I was trying very hard during Lent to watch my mouth. Bill Maher set him up and knocked him down. Bill Maher is reading a statement. Is that too vague? The argument that the president used for these targeted strikes, is that too vague? Very vague, way too vague. Oh, really? Because that was Obama. And it's what Obama used to argue that he has the right without congressional authority to bomb Libya in 2011. A bombing campaign that didn't end 2 weeks later, a bombing campaign that didn't end a month later. For 7 months, that bombing campaign continued without congressional authorization. Adam Schiff is cornered here, cornered by Bill Maher because he thought it was Trump speaking, it was Obama. And then what does he do in response? He talks about Syria. Nobody said a damn word about Syria. He asked you about Barack Obama and Libya. You thought he was talking about Trump. Watch this trap again. This is the kind of people we're dealing with, which is the reason I'm playing this now is this is what gives me pause, of course, about if we do need to take a vote on whether or not we can put boots on the ground, if that's what it takes, et cetera, to end Iran and the regime. And the regime, by the way, has no interest in ending what it does. They basically have reasserted their partnership with the IRCG. They have elected or chosen or selected Ayatollah Khamenei's son as the new supreme leader. So they don't plan on changing anything. It's going to take a lot more of what we've seen in this past week. And if it does take boots on the ground, special forces doing certain things or whatever, doing recon to figure out where the targets to be striked are. We're not talking about, again, ground invasion, but if boots have to go on the ground and we do need to have a vote, people like Adam Schiff get a vote. And that's kind of frightening, which is the whole reason that we're playing this.
And the president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest. That's too vague for you?
Totally vague.
Okay, because that's from Obama about Libya.
That's just a mic drop moment. Adam Schiff had nothing to say. He could not possibly respond to that because he knows he's just been got. Bill Maher got him and did him dirty. And he's sitting there thinking, I'm sitting with another liberal here. He wouldn't do that to me. Yeah, well, he just did because you're an idiot. All right. And Adam Schiff is every bit an idiot. He thought he was talking about Trump. He was talking about Obama. And so what does Schiff do? Immediately goes to Syria. Well, he didn't go into Syria because we decided it really wasn't a good idea to go after Assad. Nobody said a doggone word about Assad. We were talking about Libya. We're talking about Muammar Gaddafi. Don't give me Assad. Don't give me Syria. Don't try to change the subject. You've been exposed for the hack that you are. That's the bottom line here. Here's the second clip from Bill Maher with Adam Schiff that I wanted you to hear as well, just because why not bring it home all the way home, exposing this guy and exposing the Democrats' bigger picture here. Bill Maher does a very, very good job of that. Listen.
And the president had the constitutional...
darn it, it's the same one. I queued it up twice. My mistake. Hold on a second. I got to get the right one. I thought I had changed it over to this one. Come on.
You have to find a way to do both stand up to Trump and also deliver for people.
Stand up, but I mean, don't you think after 10 years, it's just a little, I mean, it's a bit of an eye roll.
Well,
when people see that, they just think, that's all you got. That's all you Democrats have is Trump. And we're looking for something different. It seems like Tallarico is making this case. And I think the fact that he won in Texas, I think says a lot.
All right. Adam Schiff's response there, and Bill Maher called it out. Adam Schiff is talking about, we've got to stand up to Trump. And Bill Maher's like, what does that even mean? You lost 3 times. You claim, he actually took office 2 of the 3 times, but you lost to him 3 times. He's steamrolling you, and for 10 years, you better have more as a party than F Trump. He said the word there, it was bleeped out. You better have more than that. It's about more than just F Trump. But they don't. It's all reflexive hate for Trump. It's all TDS. Every policy, foreign and domestic, is secondary to we've got to stop him because they hate him so much. And I still believe the reason why is because he was one of them. He was a New York liberal Democrat. Donald Trump was for most of his adult and professional life. Till suddenly he decides to finally run for office and he says, I'm a Republican. And they're like, what? And they're freaked out over it. But Bill Maher's right. You better come up with something better than F Trump.
You have to find a way to do both stand up to Trump and also deliver for people.
Stand up, but I mean, don't you think after 10 years, it's just a little, I mean, it's a bit of an eye roll.
Well,
when people see that, they just think, that's all you got. That's all you Democrats have is Trump, and we're looking for something different. It seems like Tallarico is making this case, and I think the fact that he won in Texas, I think says a lot.
Okay, now that last part there is something that I want to hit very quickly. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I want to get to the bombing in New York City. More Islamic terrorism is happening in New York City. Shock. Muslim mayor. We got Muslims throwing bombs and leaving bombs in New York City. What a shock that is. But I want to hit the Tallarico question for a moment. I didn't talk about this much last week, even after the Tuesday primary in Texas. They do their things early in Texas. They had the primary on Tuesday. That's the time that we found out that we don't get any more Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, of course, had her district redrawn by the Republicans, Republican majority in Texas. And so her district is going to be gone. And rather than run in the new district that would be more challenging for her, she decided to run statewide as a Senate candidate. And she ran against James Tallarico for the Democrat nomination, and Jasmine Crockett lost. So we don't get to hear any more of her extraordinary, we will until November, we get to hear more of her. But any more of her just open, wanton, hate-filled, racist rhetoric. She's one of the most vile people ever to walk into the United States Capitol, even as a visitor, much less as a member of Congress. And she lost. And I was so glad to know about that. I was really, really glad. Tongue in cheek, I put on Facebook, boy, I'm really going to miss Jasmine Crockett. Anybody else, and hundreds of people are just having fun with that. But who she lost to is you talk about rocking a hard place. You have the incomprehensible hatred of Jasmine Crockett, her hatred of us and of Donald Trump and of white people, her race-baiting division and just trash ghetto mouth when she's talking to black audiences, and her Harvard-educated speech when she's talking to mixed audiences. It's really remarkable, the rock and hard. We had her, or we have a guy who is fundamentally evil. Matt Walsh called him an unhinged heretic. He is a heretic. He cosplays as a Christian preacher, a Christian minister. He gives sermons talking about how God is binary, non-binary. He says there are 6 genders identifiable. And God, he himself, is not male nor female. He is completely non-binary. Never mind all of that stuff about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Never mind any of that stuff. He's non-binary, and he's pro-choice. He's pro-choice. God would be totally for abortion. The fact that he doesn't speak out against it in the Bible is proof of that, Tallarico says. Tallarico doesn't believe the United States should have sovereignty, doesn't believe they should have borders, that we should have borders, rather. He said our southern border should have a great big giant welcome mat in front of it. And it should be inviting to everyone from around the world who wants to come to the United States to do so. This man has the Democrat blessing now by way of the nomination to be in the United States Senate, to be one of the 100 most powerful people in all of government. Because after the president and the vice president, and then in terms of succession, the Speaker of the House, the Senate being the senior chamber, the upper chamber, if you will, it's they hold so much of the power, obviously. Because look, the House passed the SAVE Act, but the Senate sits there and puts on the brakes, in part because of terrible majority leadership from John Thune, but also because of, obviously, the power given to the minority as well. If you don't have 60 votes to end debate and invoke cloture, then you can't have a simple majority vote on an item. So the Democrat, and Bill Maher just said, you guys need to have more than F Trump. And by the way, it's kind of interesting that Maher also says, you what you guys, you Democrats have to do, because he himself doesn't consider himself a Democrat anymore. He's a lifelong liberal Democrat, but he is so disgusted by wokeness, which is why he's become kind of, must-see TV. The radical wokeness and the trans stuff and, the stuff that he was talking to Schiff about, drove him from the Democrat Party. He now kind of considers himself to be a left-wing independent. So he's still liberal, but he's reasonable. He's one of the few that you can actually talk to and with reason. If there were more leftists like Bill Maher, we could actually have still a functioning society rather than two parallel universes operating alongside of one another. To the right, the conservatives and living in red America, and to the left, Democrats and blue America. And yeah, we got to live next to each other, but we don't have to mingle. If more of the liberals, more of the Democrats were Bill Maher style, we'd be able to mingle. We'd be able to have discussion, debate, conversation. It would be a good thing. But there aren't enough of them, quite frankly. But what Maher said there was, after saying, you need to stop with the F Trump stuff, he then praises what they did here with choosing Tallarico, who is so far off the left edge. I was talking about this last night with the Ohio Political News guys, with Joe Miller and Jonathan Broadbent and Brian Massey. It was a great conversation. We were talking about this, and it's like the center is here, the far right is here, and the far right is something we don't even identify with. The far right is not right. It's not conservative at all. We're talking about the lunatic fringe. There is a lunatic fringe at both of the far edges of the political spectrum, and the lunatic fringe of the, Fuenteses of the world that are out there. These are people who are just so far, they don't represent anything that we stand for. And over here on the other end, just past socialism is communism, and just past that, Marxism, and just past that is James Tallarico. That's how far left he is, so far gone. And the Democrats are embracing him. I'm like, you did something positive here. What? Wow. One party has embraced the extreme fringes of their ideology. Our party has rejected completely the extreme fringes that aren't even really associated with our ideology, but they are described as such by political scientists as being on the far right. Therefore, if you're on the right, and I live on the right, I am as conservative as conservatism gets. I've gotten only more so as the years have gone by, and I've gotten into the age that I am. I make no bones about that. And I'm even far right, but I'm far right because I believe in equality, not equity. I'm far right because I believe in opportunity, not DEI. Everybody should have the opportunity to be hired, but not be given preference because of diversity, preference because of equity, preference because of what's the I? Why am I blanking? Diversity, inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I believe in the Constitution, not in judicial activism. So that's where I'm on the far right. The people who are beyond me to the fringe of the far right are not right at all. We don't identify with them. But the left identifies with the people on the fringes over there with the Tallaricos. They nominate them for the Senate. That's what makes us very, very different right now. It's very important to understand that. I'll give you another example. Here's another example of why we are willing to break ranks with those who have literally gone off the rails or who were playing us from the beginning and were never really part of us and now have decided to pull back the curtain, if you will. Tucker Carlson has completely either, like I said, lost his mind, or he has always felt this way and was playing us during the years that he was on Fox News, and is has now been exposed for being the radical fringe, extreme fringe guy that he appears to be. What I'm about to share with you, and let me bring the cackling Tucker to the screen here for a second. You ever notice that Tucker Carlson is every bit a cackling hyena that Kamala Harris is? There are some great impressions of Tucker out there. I can't do one of them, but it's just kind of funny. Tucker Carlson used to be a hero of sorts to the conservative Republican in this country, myself included. When Fox fired him, I was on the radio and I came out the next day and I said, I'm done watching Fox. You fire Tucker Carlson, you fire all of us, we're gone too. Because he was one of us. He spoke for us in so many ways. He stood up to the bullies. He challenged the left-wing ideologues. And he spoke for a lot of us. And I kept that promise for a little while until eventually I needed to see what they were going to put on in place. Turned out to be Jesse Waters, started to get a little bit of a feel. And you know what? Jesse Waters has turned out to be a pretty doggone reliable conservative commentator and analyst as well. And you throw in people like Gutfeld, who is pure. And you throw in, Kilmeade is pretty pure in terms of conservatism. These guys are real. They're not middling and kind of somewhat conservative, but Brett Baer, for example, is a straight up journalist. And I don't condemn him for that. He's a straight up journalist. He is, I think, center right, kind of like Hugh Hewitt. He's center right, but he's not out there on the right with us. He's there enough to be a reliable journalist, a moderator who will call out Republicans and call out Democrats. I'm okay with that on Fox. But when Fox fired Tucker for a time there, we were all like, that's it, then we're done. Well, now that Tucker has gone off on his own to his Tucker Carlson podcast, and he has just completely either pulled back his own curtain and showed everybody what he really is, or he has shown what he has always been, or he has shown that he has changed dramatically since that time. His anti-Semitism and his anti-Zionism have kind of come hand in hand with his anti-Americanism. And before you say, that's a bridge way too far, Bob, don't call him anti-American. Okay. But then how do you explain this? How do you explain this interview that he was doing with, got to pronounce the guy's name right. Hold on, where did that go? This interview Tucker is doing is with, and for whatever reason, it's not popping up now. Doggone it. It's a name I'm not familiar with, to be honest with you. But this was shared by a whole lot of people, and that's okay. I guess his interview subject is a little bit less relevant than what he had to say in this interview. So let me do this. But Tucker Carlson is talking to this.
If they want.
Not yet. Tucker Carlson is talking to this individual about President Trump's demand for a full and unconditional surrender by the Iranians. You want the bombings to stop. Full surrender by the regime is what's required. Full and unconditional surrender by the regime is what is required. That is regime change. We had been told that this was not about regime change. It is about stopping them from getting a nuclear weapon. But it seems as though the mission has advanced a little bit too. And again, I think they have a very specific order of things, a checklist of things that they wish to get done in Iran before they are finished with their campaign. And that means not only, disabling their nuclear program now, but disabling it permanently by getting rid of those people who continue to try to rebuild it, which is the Islamic regime headed up by the former supreme leader now, Ayatollah Khamenei, and now being led up by his son. So regime change is in the works here. And that for us to end the bombing campaign and to end the strikes and so forth, and for Israel to be satisfied that Iran can no longer just decide to point a nuke at them and wipe them off of the map, regime change is going to be required for those assurances to be given. And that means full and unconditional surrender. So Tucker Carlson, in doing this interview with the person that, again, for whatever reason, I can't can't find what his name is. But what Tucker Carlson says here is going to shock you. What he says here is that regime change means Americans get to do terrible, terrible, terrible things to innocent people. Watch.
Unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter if they want. And everyone knows that. And that has been, if there's one consistent lesson of history, it means unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter. Everyone can feel that. That's like the most atavistic instinct there is.
Just going to let you marinate in that for a second. Trump says we want unconditional surrender to America. Iran would be surrendering unconditionally to America and to Israel. And that means Americans and Israelis are going to rape Iranian women and daughters. I didn't say it. I'm listening to it and I'm trying to find, is there context I'm missing? Maybe. Wouldn't be the first time. I'm usually pretty decent at picking up context clues when people say certain things. What is their intention? What is their meaning? Did it come out wrong? Was it perceived wrong? But I've been wrong before. I'm not seeing any other context in which that can be received. He said, unconditional surrender means the victorious troops get to rape the women of the vanquished. And Trump wants unconditional surrender of Iran. So therefore, what? American and Israelis are going to rape Iranian women and kill them? When I tell you that Tucker Carlson went off the deep end, I wasn't freaking kidding. Or this is what he's always been, like Candace Owens, and just playing the conservative community that he embedded himself with almost as a double agent to only undermine it from within. It's the only way to see this. Here's the rest of what he said.
And so to avoid that, people will do anything. And so that's why it requires that level of force to get a population subdued to the point of unconditional surrender. That's why. And so in this case, of course, we don't have the ground force necessary. I don't think Americans would voluntarily participate in it. I just don't think we can do that. It would require weapons of mass destruction. It would require presumably nuclear weapons in order to do that. And let's not lie to ourselves. We're moving toward that. Unconditional.
Okay. So two things there, two pieces to this. If Donald Trump for Donald Trump to get his unconditional surrender, it may require nuking Iran. And he said, we're headed there. We're headed there. We would use a nuclear weapon. To stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, we would use one on the Iranians. We're getting close to that, he said at the end of that clip. And if we don't get the unconditional surrender without using the nuke, if we get it by traditional methods, such as ground invasions, taking over the capital city, the regime, deposing the tyrant, the way they did with Saddam Hussein, deposing the new Ayatollah Khamenei, the son of the late one, then the American troops get to rape the women and children, the women and daughters of the Iranians. This isn't AI. This isn't a clip that is being taken out of context. This is everywhere now. Tucker Carlson, this is what he thinks about America and American troops.
Unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter if they want. And everyone knows that. And that has been, if there's one consistent lesson of history, it means unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter. Everyone can feel that. That's like the most atavistic instinct there is. And so to avoid that, people will do anything. And so that's why it requires that level of force to get a population subdued to the point of unconditional surrender. That's why. And so in this case, of course, we don't have the ground force necessary. I don't think Americans would voluntarily participate in it. I just don't think we can do that. It would require weapons of mass destruction. It would require presumably nuclear weapons in order to do that. And let's not lie to ourselves. We're moving toward that.
Let's not lie to ourselves. We're moving toward that, to using a nuclear weapon on Iran. If we don't put boots on the ground there, and putting boots on the ground there and getting unconditional surrender means raping the Iranian women and wives and daughters. This is just a little bit of what people are saying about this. Randy Fine, congressman from Florida. Tucker Carlson just said at real Donald Trump seeks unconditional surrender in Iran so that American troops can rape their women and girls. What a disgusting thing to say about both Trump and our military. Tucker is not MAGA. He is bat, and I know I'm not cursing for Lent, but I'm quoting somebody else. He is batshit crazy. Eric Doherty he's a journalist in Florida. Secretary of War, no, hold on. I'm sorry. I want to get to the rest of these clips. Hang on a second. Again, everything changes. This is like such a Tetris or a jigsaw puzzle. I had all of these queued up before, but as soon as I pick one of them, then everything changes when I go back to it. But that's what Randy Fine said. Here's Ted Cruz. This is one of them. Tucker Carlson is truly unhinged. He asserts that, one, if Iran surrenders, American soldiers will rape their wives and daughters. And two, Trump is going to use nukes against Iran. This brazen lie is moronic and delusional. Hashtag I stand with Trump. Senator Cruz, you are not wrong. That is very fairly asserted. Walter Kurt, I pay almost no attention to Tucker these days, but claiming that foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter while referring to American troops may be the most asinine and disgusting thing I've ever heard. What the hell is wrong with you? Clash Report. Last night in... No, that's not the same one. Well, I don't want to read all of that long form either. I guess that's enough to kind of ask how you feel about this. Tucker Carlson on Saturday called Israel one of the ugliest countries in the world. I forgot about this part too. His disdain for Jews and for Israel is so incredible. It's as bad as or worse than Candace Owens. You know, this is one of the reasons why Josh Hammer called Tucker Carlson one of the most dangerous anti-Semites in the world, not just in America, but in the world, because so many people are influenced by him. He calls himself a Christian, but says these kinds of things about Israel and about Jewish.
American empire, which is dying, hastened by this war with Israeli empire. And one thing I noticed, I can't contain myself and have to express it, but when you say that the Israelis are destroying Beirut, which is, having been to a lot of places in the world, one of the prettiest places on the globe. Beirut is just a marvel. It's beautiful. It reminds me, and it's being destroyed by Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true. That the nature of this emerging empire is destructive.
He hates Israel so much. I mean, he hates Israel. He hates the people that live in Israel. He hates the people that govern Israel. He hates the Jewish people that came from Israel. His anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, like I said, is just straight up off of the charts. There's no other way to say that, quite honestly. And I think it's destructive. I think it's divisive here in the United States. Because while we have a president who has been the greatest friend to Israel probably since 1948, who through the Abraham Accords have allowed them to actually become partners with some of the Arab and Muslim countries in the region around them. They've come to agreements with one another. You know, the president recognizing Jerusalem as the capital, the president moving the American embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, all of these things that, you know, that President Trump has done have just strengthened our bond and our relationship with our only democratic ally in the entire region, which is critical to anything we want to do and might have to do in Europe, Eastern Europe, or anywhere else for that matter. It's critical. Our relationship with Israel is so incredibly important. President Trump has strengthened that, and here Tucker Carlson is trying to break it up. It's so disgusting. It's reprehensible, quite honestly, what he has to say about Israel and the way he does. I want to read a few text messages, chat messages here, now that I can bring them up on the screen. Let's see what we've got going on. What does Lois Irene have here? Who cares about some little damaged troll, he, she, trying to be important before going back into the basement? All right, I'm not sure what we're referring to here. I'm diving into the middle of conversations, but I want to see what people have to say about Tucker Carlson, Israel, if I can. People are talking about gasoline. There's a troll. Okay, I get it. There's a troll in the chat room now, talking about the price of gas going up because of the Iranian war. And it's true, it is. It is very temporary. President Trump, by the way, addressed that, saying, look, it is a very small price to pay on a temporary basis for changing the face of the Middle East and thus peace in the Middle East, which will be more advantageous for American interests, both foreign and domestic. And world peace, which is something that is only going to happen when you take out those who continue to drag us into wars. President Trump is playing big picture long game here. And in the short term, yes, gas prices are up because, tankers are afraid to use the Strait of Hormuz because they're afraid that they're going to get bombed. The Iranians and their allies say that they're going to stop them. And of course, Iran doesn't even have a navy anymore. So I don't even know what the problem is there. But yeah, short-term pain. And somebody looks like in the chat room causing trouble with this. And I didn't realize this, but yeah, that person is doing that. But I want to get back to what Tucker Carlson had to say here about all of this. We got some Tallarico talk here. And okay, we're still on somebody named Increase Immigration is the individual they're talking about. Okay, I see him now. Somebody named Increase Immigration. Typically speaking, I don't like to ban or boot or whatever participants in the conversation, because I do believe in free speech and debating these people and defeating them. But when you have a troll who's not taking part in the discussion, who's typing things like Trump raped over 600 children, yeah, you certainly will have earned that ban. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm having requests inside the chat now. And yeah, this individual is going to be gone here in about 2 seconds. Rural whites are subhuman animals. Yeah. So this is, and this is not unexpected. It's gone. He's gone. It's gone and he's gone. So sorry about that, everybody. I didn't mean to let all of that lapse while I was doing my commentary. I didn't know he was on there doing this, but yeah. I do want to stay on point, and that's the reason. It's the only reason I'll ban somebody is if they're literally trying to stop the conversation that I'm trying to have, which is really, really important here. Then I will go ahead and boot people like that. So yeah, so the debate going on there is one that I'm not going to engage in because it's just nonsense. It's just somebody trolling for the sake of trolling. Cleveland Farla West Sider says Tucker is only seeking the dollars and whatever it will take to get it. That is something, and I agree. I agree with that 100%. I talked about this with Dr. Piper last week. Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of some of these quotes from the guy that we just banned here. That's something I talked about with Dr. Everett Piper last week about Candace Owens. Candace Owens is all about the dollars. And again, she was a double agent as well. She inserted herself a few years ago into the middle of conservative America, working with Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles and Jeremy Boring and the guys at Daily Wire. And oh my gosh, she is just a great voice. First of all, she's a female. Second of all, she's a Black female. What a tremendous asset to the conservative Big Tent, right? But little did we know at the time, she wasn't there to be conservative. She was there to infiltrate the conservatives. And then from that position, unleash some of the most hateful, violent torrent of rhetoric that you have seen in maybe ever. And just to make the conservative right look terrible. But then she morphed from that into, holy cow, how much can I profit from this? And she saw her following go from, 2 or 3 million followers on her channel her YouTube channel to now 5 or 6 million with the more anti-Semitism she spews, the more anti-Zionism she spews, the more lies she tells about Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk. She has just become must-see, podcasting because of the train wreck that she is. And she's making so much money. She's making hundreds of thousands of dollars per month on monetization for this stuff. She is getting rich off of her hate. Tucker Carlson is doing the same thing. So you're exactly right, Cleveland West Sider. Lois Irene says, Tucker has lost his way and seems to have gone to the dark side. Has he not seen the people in Iran on the news? You mean the people in Iran who are celebrating this victory? Yes, indeed. Charlie Junta says, time to cancel Tucker, Candace, Fuentes, and Andrew Tate. I don't hear much from Andrew Tate anymore. Fuentes has absolutely been canceled. Candace should be canceled. And you're right about Tucker, too. That's why we're doing this. Macromia says, I agree Tucker has gone off the rails completely. John says, okay, now John's getting into the battle with the guy that we just muted and got rid of. Trying to see if there's any more on Tucker. Calvinist says, there is a reason Fox got rid of him. I didn't know that at the time. I was very angry when they got rid of him. I don't know what the reason was specifically, what their designated reason was, what they said publicly, but they got rid of him for a reason. Did they see this coming? I don't know. Maybe. What else do we have? Yeah, a lot more of this is the battle. So I guess I'm going to call it a day on the comments. All right. We're going to call it a day, period, I guess. What I am going to close with, though, rather than the traditional background music that I give you and then just the banner on the front of the screen, I'm going to close today's show with the song that I didn't get a chance to play, the song in the video that I didn't get a chance to play due to our audio and video malfunction at the event Friday night, the Line in the Sand video that I put together. It's a song that I had made through AI that I wrote a few lyrics and themes for, and it came out with something great called Line in the Sand. And then I put it to video last week, and I had planned on playing it Friday at the party, and I didn't get a chance to because of the the glitches that we had going on there. So, but it's good and it's important, and I want people to know why we did what we did, why we are wearing these, and I hope people are wearing these all over Greater Cleveland. I hope people who got their shirts don't just wear them that night only. Wear them out in public. Let people see them and let people engage you and ask why you support ICE. And then you tell them everything you heard from me, from Kursanov, from Zukowski, from Zawistowski, and from everywhere else about why we support ICE. So I want to play this for you in closing. I didn't get to the bombing in New York City. The attempted bombings in New York City, bombs being lit and thrown, but fortunately not going off. These shrapnel bombs filled with nuts and bolts and nails and other things that would have just devastated countless numbers of people in large crowds. We didn't get to that today. We'll get to that tomorrow. We'll talk about it with Kursanov, I can promise you. But there are a lot of other things, obviously, that we need to focus on that are kind of dividing our time right now, but we're gonna make sure we use it the best we can. Tomorrow morning, we'll talk about that with Peter Kursanov. All right, so thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for engaging in the chat. Don't forget, what are the most important things I need you to do before you leave this room? Hit that like button, the thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that follow button, and hit that join button. That join button is really, really important because that will take you to our locals community where I need you to be so that we can truly strategize. You'll be a part of the in crowd. You'll be a part of the club that gets to have private town hall meetings with me. There'll be personal private interviews with guests only for the insiders. And gatherings as well. We're going to do some social gatherings where we get together and talk about all the things that are important to us all over Greater Cleveland. You want to be a part of that? All you got to do is click that join button, get into locals, create your account there, and join us and be a supporter, and you'll be a part of it. So thank you to everybody for listening today, for being here. Thanks to the chatters for all of your involvement. And once again, thanks to everybody who made Friday night a rousing success at McJames in Brook Park. The ICE Appreciation Party, our Frontline Freedom Festival, was a phenomenal event. I appreciate all of you. And I'm going to close again with the video that I wanted to play for you live at the event on Friday. But I'll give it to you now in 3, 2, 1. Have a great day.
Clock in at midnight, vest on, boots laced. Another name on the paper, another hard case. Got a wife back in Lubbock, kids in their Sunday best. I ain't some villain in a movie, I'm a man doing my best. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chatting the street, I'm the one who stands, yeah. You draw your crowd, I draw the line in the sand. Saw you playing for cameras, shoving phones in my crew, spitting words like traitor, like you know what we go through. When you circle that transport, like it's some kind of game, there's a scared little girl in the backseat, you don't even know her name. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I'll hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands, yeah. You draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Then you shove them into harm's way. You turn a bus into a battlefield. I'm just trying to get them home today. Call me every name you can think of, I'll still show